Welcome to a new episode from English Plus Podcast. Today we're going to talk about music, and specifically for this episode, we will talk about classical music. You might not all be fans of classical music. You might be fans of rock music, jazz music, pop music, etc. But here we will learn about classical music and maybe why you should be listening to it. So without further ado, let's start talking about classical music. Do not be bored. Classical music can be very stimulating. Classical music began in Europe in the Middle Ages and continues today. Classical music is the art music of Europe and North America. When we call it art music, we are distinguishing classical music from popular music and folk music. Art music generally requires more training to write and perform than the other two kinds. Classical music can be written for orchestras when these are large groups of musicians, and for smaller groups, some classical music is written for people to sing. Orchestras usually play in concert halls. A conductor leads the musicians in an orchestra. The number of players can range from about 24 to well over 100. An orchestra has several sections made up of different instruments: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. The string section of an orchestra consists of violins, violas, cellos, and basses. Woodwinds are flutes, clarinets, oboes, and bassoons. Brass instruments include trumpets and trombones. Percussion instruments include drums and cymbals. Classical music for small group is called chamber music because it was once played in chambers or large rooms in people's houses. Examples of chamber music are quintets for 5 musicians, quartets for 4 musicians, and trios for 3 musicians. Some classical music is written for a soloist, a single performer who may play an instrument, especially the piano, or sing. Opera is written for an orchestra and singers. Opera combines music and drama. It tells a story, and the singers must also act. Operas have lavish stage sets, which is the scenery, and fancy costumes. Many operas also feature huge choruses, dance numbers, and brilliant displays of the singers' voices. Thrilling operas include Madame Butterfly by Giacomo Puccini, Carmen by Georges Bizet, and Rigoletto and Aida by Giuseppe Verdi. These operas all have tragic endings. Some operas are lighter in spirit and even comic. They generally end happily. Gioachino Rossini's The Barber of Seville is an example of a comic opera. The light operas of Gilbert and Sullivan and other composers are sometimes called operettas. In the United States, operetta changed into a popular form, the musical. The musical is a play that has songs, choruses, and dances in its story. Many operas feature dances or long passages played by instruments that actually interrupt the action. That's how the symphony originated. It started out as an instrumental introduction to 18th century Italian opera. Symphonies then became all the rage in Germany and Austria. The symphony is a composition written for orchestra. It generally has 4 contrasting sections or movements. In a performance, there is plenty to look at because of the fantastic array of instruments. Famous symphony composers include Ludwig van Beethoven, Johannes Brahms, Peter Tchaikovsky, Gustav Mahler, and Dmitri Shostakovich. There are different styles in classical music depending on when the music was composed. From earliest to most recent, these styles include the Baroque in the 1600s, classical in the 1700s, Romantic in the 1800s, modern in the early 1900s, and postmodern in late 1900s. You'll notice that classical appears as a separate style within classical music. The term classical can also describe music composed in the 1700s, primarily in Vienna. The leading composers of this time were Joseph Haydn, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Ludwig van Beethoven. They were a brilliant group. You might begin listening to classical music with their works. So, with that being said, that'll be all about classical music, but I still have a couple of things to talk about. Of course, there are a couple of words I want to focus on, And I hope by now that I kind of encourage you to listen to classical music if you're not already fans of classical music. And now let's talk about those words we would like to focus on. But before we do that, let me remind you that you can find a link in the description of this episode that will take you to our website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com. There you will find the show notes, you will find interactive activities that you can do on our website, and you will find a PDF practice worksheet you can download and do on your own. Check your answers. We have crossword puzzles, a lot of fun stuff to help you remember the words and to practice your listening while you're listening to it. So please take this further step to improve your English even better by going to our website, doing the interactive activities, or download the PDF if that's what you prefer. But there you will definitely improve your English a lot more. And if you like the content we're creating, you can support us by becoming a patron of the show on Patreon. You will also find a link to Patreon in the description of the episode. Now let's move back and let's talk about these words I want to focus on. And let me start with the very first word here when we said, don't be bored, classical music can be very stimulating. Now, when you use stimulating, you are talking about inspiring new ideas or simply enthusiasm. Now, for some people, that might be true. For myself, I'm a big fan of classical music, so that is very stimulating when we talk about classical music. For some other people, they might have their own style of music that is very stimulating. But let me tell you, folks, classical music can be very stimulating for all kinds of people, and that's why it endured the test of time and it still survives today, unlike many other forms or songs that never stood the test of time. Now, with that being said, that is stimulating. Let's move on to talk about the next word. Here, when we call it art music, we are distinguishing classical music from popular music. Now, here, what is the meaning of distinguishing? If you can distinguish one thing from another or distinguish between two things, you can see or understand how they are different. So that is the meaning of distinguish. And next, we were talking about the operas, and we said that operas have lavish stage sets and fancy costumes. Now, we have here lavish, fancy costumes. What are these words? Now, lavish, if you describe something as lavish, you mean that it is very elaborate and impressive, and a lot of money has been spent on it. That is the meaning of lavish. Of course, we can use it for other things as well, not only for the operas. But that is what the opera is famous for. They have lavish stage sets or sceneries. But then we also said fancy, which is a word that is closely related to lavish. If you describe something as fancy, you mean that it is special, unusual, or elaborate. For example, because it has a lot of decoration. That is a fancy. We can use it to talk about a fancy restaurant, for example, which is usually very expensive. And we talked also about costumes. Here we said fancy costumes. Now, what do we mean by costumes here? And pay attention, here it's costume, not custom. Custom would be without an E at the end, but when you put an E after the M, that will be costume. Now, an actor's or performer's costume is the set of clothes they wear while they are performing. So here we're talking about the set of clothes for these performers for the operas, and these are usually fancy costumes. And then we talked about the choruses. We said many operas also feature huge choruses. Now, what is the chorus? A chorus is a large group of people who sing together. And here, as we said, many operas also feature huge choruses, a lot of people, and you might have seen that on TV before. That is what we call a chorus. And then we continue talking about the opera, and we talk about thrilling operas like Madame Butterfly by Giacomo Puccini, Carmen by Bizet, and Rigoletto and Aida by Giuseppe Verdi. But what is the meaning of thrilling operas? Now, something that is thrilling is very exciting and enjoyable. But unfortunately, these thrilling operas all have tragic endings. Now, what is the meaning of tragic? When we say tragic ending, a tragic event or situation is extremely sad, usually because it involves death or suffering. And then we continued on and talked about the music that interrupt the action of the opera, which became later the symphony. That's how the symphony started. And here we said many operas feature dances or long passages played by instruments that actually interrupt the action. What is the meaning of interrupt? If you interrupt someone who is speaking, you say or do something that causes them to stop. Now here, simply, this interrupts the action. That means it stops the action of the opera and it focuses on the dance part, or in this case, we're talking about the playing part. And then we continued on and said that symphonies then became all the rage in Germany and Austria. Now, rage on its own means strong anger that is difficult to control. But when you say something is all the rage, when something is popular and fashionable, you can say that it is the rage or all the rage, like here. So all the rage here, it doesn't have to do with being angry, like rage on its own. All the rage, that means something is very popular and fashionable. So symphonies then became all the rage in Germany and Austria. And then the final word is array. Here we said there is plenty to look at because of the fantastic array of instruments. Now, an array of different things or people is a large number or wide range of them. That is how we use the word array here. Now, obviously, we can use array in mathematics and other contexts as well. If you know anything about programming, you definitely have heard of arrays. But array here can be used in everyday language. That means a large number or a wide range of something. Now, that being said, that'll be all. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you learned a couple of things about classical music. And of course, because we are English Plus Podcast, we have to teach you something. So I hope you also learned a couple of good words you can use in your own speaking and writing. I cannot stress enough the importance of practicing the things you learn. Of course, if you're here to enjoy yourselves and to listen to the podcast, just to listen to it, we're honored to have you with us. And thank you very much for picking our podcast. But if you want to take it a step further and if you want to improve your English, take the link, go to our website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com. The link you will find in the description will take you straight to the post we created specifically for this episode. You will find the show notes, you will find the practice worksheets, you will find the interactive activities for the new words you learned in this episode. Everything you will find there. Go there and improve your English every day with our daily episodes here in English Plus Podcast. Thank you very much for listening to another episode. This is your host, Danny. I will see you next time.